Alright guys, welcome back to the Economics YouTube channel. I was talking about trade. Now I'm done talking about trade, so now I'll be talking about economic development and government spending. So how to develop a topic from this existing topic for your own research work. Now, like I was saying, there are different indices to measure economic development. Some might be in terms of town planning. If you have town plan, like your cities, your towns, everything is well planned, that's an indicator that you are developing. You might also look at teacher pupil ratio. Okay, if you have a reasonable amount of teachers, like how do I put it now, attending to the needs, academic needs of the specific number of students, so that is also like an indicator for economic development. It is in developing countries, for example, you might have one teacher teaching a class of 100 students. I just completed my NYC. My JSS2 class, they were like 100 students. SS1 class, were like 100 students. So that's like too much for one teacher to handle. So normally it should have been a teacher for 30 students. Alright, so they would have had like 3 teachers like that, and studies would have been more effective, that way. So that's an indicator. Then you can look at the doctor-patient ratio. So how many doctors, if you go to Jaja Clinic in QI, for example, you might just stay there for hours and you won't be attended to because the number of staff, alright, medical staff on ground to cater for your needs are low compared to the number of patients that they are supposed to cater for. You can also look at things like police to citizen. I don't know if there's something like that, but look at the number of policemen that are allocated to a state. You can look at that to check if the country is developed or not. For a developing country, it's actually going to be low. You can have maybe like 10,000 policemen in a country or in a state attending to the needs of maybe 1 million people. It's small. The figure is small. Alright, so things like that, you have different indicators for economic development. So you are looking at this topic, but after going through journals, like important journals on government spending, effect of government spending on economic development. Alright, remember that first I said you want to talk about economic growth, for example, so you look for journals on economic growth. Now if you go through journals on economic growth, you're not like, okay, there's one particular thing I was talking about, okay, and that was how we will settle for inflation and economic growth for what we're explaining before. But here you've looked for journals on economic development, and there was one that caught your attention, which is government spending on economic development. So you now go and download journals on government spending and economic development to see what people have done so far in line of this particular topic. Alright, so now when you went through other journals, you saw that what they were using for economic development, the variable they were using is GDP per capita. So they were using GDP per capita, which is GDP per person. Please, I would, in case you don't know, don't spell capital like this for GDP per capita. You don't spell this. If you use something like for one of my lecturers, your marks are gone. So GDP per capita, the L is not there. So that's the correct one. Please always note that. And so they were using GDP per capita to measure economic development, which is an indicator. Okay, if your economy is developed, the GDP per capita is supposed to be high, alright, or moderately high. So if your economy is developing or poor, it's going to be low. And that affects the standard of living of people. So and they were using this as, they were now saying is a function of government spending. Now you don't have to write government spending like this. You can just put it as G. So GDP per capita, maybe GDPC, whatever. But you just let people know where GDPC means GDP per capita is a function of G, government spending. So where G is government spending. So this is what other researchers have been using. But in your own, you are interested in this topic, but what are you doing differently? Then you remember that, okay, in one of your economics classes you were taught about HDI, right? Oh wow, that's nice. So HDI looks at economic development in 3 different ways. It looks at it in terms of adult literacy, how many of the adults in a particular country are educated, and looks at it in terms of real GDP per capita, which is what other studies have been using, the ones that you've read. Then it looks at what was the third one? Life expectancy. Alright, so you're not like, what should I do? Now for my own, I'm going to use life expectancy to measure economic development. So you have life expectancy as a function of government spending. So this is giving you a new topic. Now it's not as if you are looking at effect of government spending on life expectancy. Of course, that might be your research topic, but what you are looking at here is effect of government spending on economic development. But we are still talking about variables. You are using life expectancy instead of GDP per capita that a lot of people have used. All right, and you can explain that. You can argue it that when you are talking about, if you are looking at GDP per capita, it's more or less a measure for growth than development. Now, what talks about how the standard of living of citizens have improved is really things like their life expectancy. Okay, how old are they living? How young are they dying? Something like that, or the adult literacy rate. So you are like, life expectancy is a better measure for economic development. What is economic development anyway? It's looking at things that have happened or that are happening in a country that are improving the standards of living of the citizens. Alright, so if I say GDP per capita is increasing, well, it's maybe because we have people like Dangote in Nigeria's economy that are earning so much. Okay, that when you include them in your data sets and then you do everything, you realize that you have a high GDP per capita. Now, that does not mean that everybody is earning high. It is just saying that, okay, when you look at the lowest, when you add the lowest and the highest and everybody together, this is what you have, right? There might be a lot of inequality in this country, okay, and GDP per capita is not capturing it. So, but there's something that is important. Let's look at life expectancy, the average life expectancy of people. Okay, how do people live? How well do they live? How soon do they die? Something like that. So you argue it that, okay, this is what you are looking at, how government spend maybe in healthcare. So this might maybe government spend in healthcare. Maybe government spending in education. All right. In fact, that's another thing. Now, maybe in the other studies that you looked at, it was more of government spending in education, how it has improved life expectancy. So yours might be life expectancy and government spending on healthcare. Okay. So you can see these are fantastic ways that topics develop, right? So you can just be adjusting this variable, adjusting that variable, and make sure that what you are doing is making sense. You can defend it, and your variables are measurable. Now, don't go and include politics or political institution in an economic study, because how will you capture political institution now? So it might be something that is really interesting to look at, but what variable are you going to use to capture it? So you might not have a variable that can proxy that very, very well. So don't use a variable that you cannot measure. Economics is about measurements and giving reasons to numbers, right? So if you cannot measure your variables, don't bother to include them. So now I've explained how you can generate topics from variables, from adjusting variables and so on and so forth. Now the next one is method. Alright, how can you generate your topic from the method that you are using? Now let's say that we are looking at inflation and economic growth. Now, after going through other related research work, you will discover that the method that people have been using is the MLR, multiple linear regression model. Okay, so you are now like, I don't want to use MLR. I want to use what do you call it, ARDL, autoregressive distributive lag, estimation technique. So you have to like state why you are using ARDL, what is making your project different from other studies. And so you might start from, okay, first, the data I'm going to be using is time series data. Okay. So after you mentioned the data is the data you'll be using, the time series data. Of course, you are looking at what is happening to Nigeria in different years. All right, so that's what time series data is all about. We've talked about types of data sets in our Econometrics course. All right, so that's a different course. You can buy that if you want to. Right, just you see a link in the description of this video. Just click on the link and tell us that you want to get the course. I think right now it's 2,500 naira. Most of our courses are 2,500 naira, but this particular one is likely not going to be 2,500 naira. I'm just saying. Okay, so you have time series data, and your data is the data you are proposing to use are stationary at levels of phase difference, and it's a mix of being stationary at levels and phase difference. So that makes ARDL the right estimation technique to use. And that might not even be a strong enough justification. Then the other justification might be that, okay, the additional justification is that using ARDL as the right estimation technique can be used to assess the result of other studies, of other related studies, and their policy implications. So if you think that MLR that others have been using is not the right technique that should have been used. Okay, you want to use ARGL to check their results. No, their result might have been saying that inflation does not affect economic growth, for example. So, and you are arguing that because you have your data set being stationary at first difference and at levels, a mix of the two. The MLR that other researchers use is not proper, so the result may not be accurate. You understand? So that is why you are using ARGL. You are using ARGL because your variables, the data sets you'll be using, they are mixed at first difference and they are stationary at first difference or at levels, right? So, and number two, that already eliminates the use of MLR, okay, for that kind of data set. Now, if they were all stationary, if there was no mix, MLR would have been adequate. But now that there is a mix up, ARGL is what should be used. And you are now checking so you're like saying that other researchers have erred in ERED, they have erred in their methodology, in their approach, and their results may not be substantial, their results may not be accurate. So so you are using ARGL, the appropriate technique, to run this same to do the same topic, right? To research on this same topic and generate the appropriate result. That's a justification. So when you do that and you write it properly and you present it to your supervisor, your topic is likely going to be approved because you are challenging. Now, what you are doing now is you are trying to challenge previous studies, okay, on what they've done being right or not. Now, you might eventually run your research and do everything, and your result is still going to be similar. So they are not exactly the same though, or similar, maybe in terms of your a priori expectations. So don't worry, we'll talk about a priori expectations later on. So maybe one was negatively related, your own two is also negatively related, but the size. Now they said that the size was not significant, but when you use ARGL, you realize that the impact of inflation is significant on economic growth. All of those things and so on and so forth. All right. And if in the end there is no big difference, there's no difference at all in your results, or no significant difference in your result, then it's okay. You came as an attacker, you came to attack what other researchers have done, but after you've carried out your project, you realize that your findings are still similar. So it's okay. Now, when you come to attack somebody, you might end up agreeing with the person, and you might end up debunking what the person has said. You understand? So it's okay. All right. So that's that about that. About about the method. So we are done with the method. Now, how about case study in terms of companies? Okay, thank you. How about case study in terms of companies? Now, my own research, my own project, my financial project, which I'm not so proud of, but at least I'm still proud of it. Kind of. Now, what I did was customer relationship management among Nigerian banks, a case study of First Bank in Ibadan. Now, I issued questionnaires. So in case you would also be issuing questionnaires for your work. Now, you came across this topic and you're like, that's nice. Customer relationship management, CRM. Okay, Nigerian banks. Whenever I go to banks in Nigeria, they are just nasty in the way they treat customers and so on and so forth. I'm interested in this. So how can you alter this topic to generate a new topic for you? First is CRM among Nigerian banks, a case study of First Banks, Ibadan. Now, how many? You might first decide that I'm not even doing First Bank. I want to do Wema Bank. So once you write customer relationship among Nigerian banks, a case study of what bank did I say just now? Wema Bank. You are doing something different already. So you have a topic that you can work on. That's one. You can use GT Bank, any bank that you want. All right. In fact, you can use First Bank, GT Bank, and Zenith Bank. So you are putting three banks together. That's a new topic. So you have a new topic over there. And okay, you might then look at it. Okay, I want to do First Bank. Okay, what is the methodology of this guy? What did he do? So go into my methodology section. Methodology is talking about how I went about the project. So you look at it, okay, how did I go about? Okay, this guy issued questionnaires. How many questionnaires? Okay, 400. I don't even remember now, God knows, but maybe 400, let's say. So 400. How many banks? 3 banks. So 3 First Bank. What place? Ibadan. Wow. Okay, well, first, I want to do mine too in Ibadan. Okay, but I'm not going to use 3 banks. I'll be using 15 banks, 15 First Banks. So because you're using 15 First Banks, you're having a different topic already. And what is changing, what you're adding is methodology. You're bringing in a different methodology. And that's fine. So that might also be to refute what I have said or to confirm what I have said. You can say that the studies that you've come across they used a small sample size. So you are also conducting this study to confirm or debunk their results using a larger sample size. You can't be talking about banks and use just 3 banks. You understand? When there may be like maybe 30 of them in that particular state. So why not just try maybe half of them? You get, so you have a new topic that way. Now that's one. Then second is that okay, I want to try First Bank, but I don't want Ibadan. Let me try Lagos. So you have a new topic again too. So you are looking at a case study of First Bank, Lagos, right? Now you can say a case study of First Bank, Lagos, Ibadan, Lagos. You understand? Just have maybe 1 or 2 locations, which means that you are going to be traveling. Okay, let's say you are based in, you may not even be based in Lagos or Ibadan, or let's say you are based in Ibadan. Okay, you now want to look at, or you are based in Lagos and you saw what somebody did for banks in Ibadan. Okay, you include Lagos in your own, and you can say maybe Lagos and Ibadan. Okay, or Lagos, Ibadan, maybe Zamfara. So which means you have to travel to Zamfara to go and issue questionnaires. Now, another way that you can also change it, but I don't know if it is a very strong justification, is that okay, how did this person carry out, how did he share questionnaires? Okay, he went out giving questionnaires to people one after the other, people on the queue in a bank. Now, these are people that they are probably not interested in answering questions on a questionnaire. They just want to collect their money. They just want to, whatever they came to the bank to do, they just want to receive it and get out. So they may not have been truthful, or they may have not provided the right answers to the questionnaires that was given. So the method that I want to use is to go to people's houses when they are comfortable and interview them. Okay, so if your supervisor sees that okay, that is okay, how do you want to go about it? How will you get people that are using First Bank and go to their house? If you're able to like provide justifiable reasons on how you're going to go about it, then you have a project approved, you have a topic approved. So you can see different ways from a single topic that you saw, and you can see that you can generate like 4, 5, 6 topics from it. It's just all about your creativity, and whatever you are doing, make sure that you are not going to have significant setback that will make your supervisor to tell you that we are cancelling your topic and pick another one. That may not be very funny. All right, then I think the last case is about countries and region. So let's say after going through journals, you saw effects of inflation on Nigeria's economic growth. On Nigeria's economy, that's the example. All right, but you are a Ghanaian. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is effect of inflation on Ghana's economic growth. Now, if a lot of people have done Ghana as well, okay, so what are you gonna do? Okay, effect of inflation on ECOWAS states' economic growth. Now, states in political science means countries. Alright, so you're looking at, so you're not going to be having time series data, and I think you have something like a panel data in your research. So you are not, other studies have looked at states individually, but in your own research you are proposing to consider different countries, different states under ECOWAS. So you might not use ECOWAS, you might use BRICS countries. B is Brazil, R is Russia, I is India, C is China, and S is South Africa. So you just like BRICS. So these are ways by which you can have different topics. So I haven't gone through this class. I hope that you have, at least in one way or the other. Oh, yeah, someone just reminded me. Scope. Yeah. What's time?
18.
Okay.
19.
Okay, there's one about, oh, I'm very sorry. Scope, I almost skipped that. It's about the scope of the study. About scope of the study. So this is talking about the time frame of your project. So let's say you've been looking at other people's research work, and most of the scope or the best that anyone did on that topic was to use the data in 2015. Okay, but a lot of things have happened in your country between 2015 and 2021. So your own scope might be to include the periods after 2015 and the current between 2015 and the current period. So let's say people did 1980, the highest that you saw after significantly going through existing literature was maybe 1980 to 2015. Okay, so you can now see mine is going to be from 1980 to 2021. Then why? Okay, why? That's the important thing. Why? Okay, why I'm doing this, okay, is that Nigeria had a certain administration, a certain government, and under that government's purview, a lot of things that have never happened before in the country happened regarding the country's economic state. okay, in terms of inflation, unemployment, this and that. So you want your project is to evaluate the impact, the seriousness of inflation on Nigeria's economic growth, particularly within that period, and maybe to compare that with what has been happening in terms of inflation and economic growth before that period. And there you have it. That's another project that you can write on. So all of these things are cool things, and I hope that you enjoy this class. No, you have an assignment, and I told that this course is going to be a practical course. From everything that you've learned today, you must come up with a topic which you are then going to submit to us. Then we go through your justification. As a student of Emoji School of Economics, you go about that. So right now it's about WhatsApp and YouTube that we are using to run our online school. So each student is required to come up with a topic. So you are going to be coming up with a research proposal. Now your research proposal is supposed to be 200 words, just 200 words. That's okay. So in that 200 words, you must include topic. So just state the topic, economic growth and whatever it is that you want to do, your topic, then your objective. Why are you looking at that? Your objective. Then you talk about significance. Who are the people that need your project? What makes it worth it? Alright, why should somebody read it? What makes it worth it? So significance. Then important, you must also include your case study. For now, normally you're supposed to add theory, but I've not really taught you about theory, so just this. Now when we talk about theory and you go through the theories of your research, you might then, because of the theory, decide to debunk the topic that you picked here. Alright, and choose another topic. Those are one of the interesting things about writing a project. You look at a different aspect of the project and realize, I can't do this topic, I have to take another one, right? So, but for now, those include theory. So topic, objective, significance, and case study. Type, of course, and 200 words. Okay, I don't know what you are writing. Your proposal should just be 200 words, including these words. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 words already, including. I remember you. You have 4 words already. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means you need to add 196 words. Okay. You need to add 196 words to your proposal. So we are going to review your proposal again by the time we talk about chapter 3 or so. We are going to talk about theory. So if you can find theory that can go along the topic you have originally proposed, then we move. We move. Thank you. Bye. See you in the next class.